name is Per-Arne Andersson, and I'm working with research and development for TSD Sweden, and we produce personal protective equipment. And our biggest branch is for high pressure water. It's a very much used for multiple applications, and it's a lot of risks involved in that, and therefore I thought it was very interesting to be the coordinator for a health and safety group. Of course, I have the most knowledge about the clothing and the production of that, and how to make right constructions to make optimal protection. But I also got a good help from a lot of other guys. And we think that it's important that we have this type of reference documents at an European level, because it's a lot of countries that don't have any rules or anything, and some have really good rules. And health and safety is very, very important. It's important for us to get a visual publication. We want to give a general overview of what the water jetting is, roles, responsibilities of people involved, working methods, and use of maintenance of the equipment and handle of hazardous waste risks. The scope of this guide covers most of the more common application of water jetting, specifically the one listed below: industrial cleaning and maintenance, municipal cleaning, removal of coating and surface preparation, concrete removal, and hydro demolition. It's a reference document for professionals linked to the industry, especially contractors and asset owners performing or contracting service using high pressure water. In Europe, the use of high spread water in its various applications is widespread. However, not in all countries the industry is well organized in professional associations, and there is no specific documents on health and safety for the water jetting. For this reason, the EWJI Health and Safety Working Group decided to analyze what reference documentation existed in other countries and to prepare a basic guide valid at European level. And when we started the working group, we had the first times we had personal meetings, but during these strange years, 2020 and 2021, we have most of the meetings via this type of web seminars and webinars. And I think that we have created we have done a great job, and we have shown that it's possible to work together, even if the world is very, very strange. The guide of health and safety is about 60 pages. It's an online version, and it will be publicated today. Of course, we think that this is a living document, and we are going to try to develop it during the years and see that we get as much as information as possible into it. The contents that we can go through very fast is water jetting, people, roles and responsibilities, operations, working methods, equipment, use and maintenance, hazardous waste, and practical information. And we want you to visit it for free in our website. Thank you.
So thank you, Per. Thank you for this introduction to the guide. We try to make it short and sweet and leave time to the discussion. and Per is connecting from Sweden, but we also have colleagues from other countries today. From Germany, Alan, if you can turn on your camera and introduce yourself. There you go. Please go ahead.
So, good afternoon. My name is Per-Arne O'Shea, and I work for BASF in Ludwigshafen in Germany. I've been at the job now for around 12 years, and I've worked for around 26 years now in the company. So I've been in the production side, logistics side of the company, and now I'm working in the cleaning sector. So I was one of the helpers who put this handbook together.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you very much, Alan. And I kindly ask also Stuart from France to turn on the camera and introduce himself. Please, Stuart.
Good afternoon. My name is Stuart Harwood, and in spite of my very English accent, I am actually president of the French Certificating Association, which is the only safety certificating office in France for high pressure water and for vacuum pumping. And I've been in the business now for 45 years and running the certificating office for about 12.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you to the three of you, and also thank you to everyone in the audience today. This today is the presentation of the guide, which has already been available for a few days to our members to see it and to review it. As Per mentioned before, this document is available online. You can go and see it on the website of the association. It's going to be completely free. And now we're going to have a roundtable debate about, this guide, health and safety in water jetting, the good things, maybe the not so good things, and the things that need to be improved. So with anyone that wants to send us questions or comments, you can use on your right. The chat box is on your right. Feel free to post your comments there. I'm going to start with a kind of basic question to the three of you. Health and safety is important no matter where you are. All of us are in an office or at home today, connecting to this. Maybe somebody's connecting from the mobile, but also if you're on the job site, or especially if you are on the line of fire with water jetting, health and safety is especially important. Why? Why is it relevant? If we have to tell the message to somebody that doesn't know about water jetting or somebody that is new to the industry, why would you say that this is especially relevant in this trade? Who wants to get started?
Perhaps myself, being the oldest and been in it longest. When I started, we saw lots of dodgy equipment and bad management, and the people were not going home to their families whole in one piece in the evening, and it was not a nice thing to see. And we needed to make things better. Today, our aim is that everybody on the site is sufficiently competent. I'm talking S3C here. Everybody on site is sufficiently competent not to make mistakes and not to hurt himself or anybody else. So they can come to work. It's a hard job sometimes. They know that in the evening they will return to their families in a healthy state.
Okay, shall I continue?
Please.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with Stuart. I mean, in Germany, we had the same kind of experiences. That's why we started creating that German association now for the Industrial Cleaning Association. We have exactly the same problem where we'd have to say there is a lack of respect for the water high pressure industry out there, or even the industrial cleaning itself as a branch. And there was too many accidents happening. And if we look at a daily list of the jobs we have running alone in our own factory, at the moment we've about 40 jobs running just in one half of our factory, and over 60% of them have got to do with water high pressure. They're directly involving water high pressure. And then, of course, you have a bit of suction work maybe involved, but with the water high pressure is definitely the focus as well in our factory on a daily basis.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. I'll shot another question to the three of you. Per, you're coming from the perspective of a manufacturer of equipment. Stuart, you have experience as a contractor, but today you represent an association that certifies the contractors. And Alan, you come from the perspective of the asset owner. So each one of you look at this from a different, with different eyes. Why do you think it's important that we make it available for free? We disseminate it. We go farther than just producing a document. Why do you think that this could be helpful to the industry?
Yeah, I can start. I've seen during my 19 years working with trying to educate people how to use personal protective equipment when working with high pressure, that there is a very big resistance against it. And I say that it's only idiots that get hurt. If you don't make anything wrong, you won't get, it won't happen anything and so, but we see that things happen, and it happens a lot of them. And therefore, I think it's good to have a guide like this, because there is countries where people are not counted for important. The price and so is the most important thing. So I think this is about safety for equipment, for pumps, for hoses, and for all protective equipment. I think that's very important that we have some type of document which they can take part of.
Shall I continue, or?
Please go ahead. Feel free.
Okay. Well, I would have said as well, in Germany we do have the guideline which was created by the BG, but we still found quite a lot that people were, they were ignorant of the fact that there were helpful guidelines there which you could use, and which would get you started working in the industry at least in a safer manner. And the fact that there's a guideline coming out now through the EWJI should give people really, if you look for the information, you should be able to find something. And that's what I think we're all about here, is the fact that we're producing something which people can take, they can read at home, or maybe read during work time, whatever. But the idea is to give you a guideline to give people a start and how to start working safer. Or hopefully people who might be a bit longer in the industry, that they might find something new which they hadn't known before, which they can adapt into their working day and hopefully make their job and their work a bit safer.
Yeah, well, if I may, just a slight correction. I did spend a lot of time contracting, but I also did 30 years of manufacturing and a rental fleet. And so I've really been in contact with both ends of it. What we need, in my opinion, is a reference point. There are many countries within Europe that has no reference point. Few of us have gone ahead, but we're a very small minority of Europe. The people who've gone ahead and given reference point and reference and manufacturing details and the necessary information to all our members. I only know really 3 or 4 countries in Europe. The rest are still struggling. And we need to establish, if we're going to have Europe, we need to establish a reference point that people can pull down the information they need and adapt it to their own country and circumstances, and becomes almost a standard reference for the whole of Europe.
Okay, thank you.
I think one more point there, Jose, before we move on. I think that was very important as well when we were discussing the manual as well. What information we'd include into the manual is the fact respecting other countries and the fact that they might, before we get the resistance against ideas that we put in, we tried to have the ideas. There's like a broad spectrum in there. They are guidelines. They're just ideas of what other countries do. So that it shouldn't be seen as we're not putting the brakes on anybody, but we'd like to see, it'd be interesting for us to see people actually looking at this guideline. And as I said, maybe taking a few points out of the guideline and improving their own safety standards.
Yeah. That's a very good point from all of you. And I would just like to explain this to our audience. The document is probably not the state of the art. Some of the existing associations already have documents that are more complete, but the goal of this document is to be a reference, a basic document, which in fact, there was a lot of internal discussion within EWJI, and it was decided to make it available for free to everyone. Anybody, no matter where you are, can access the document. But Stuart made a very good point also, and is that if anybody wants to translate the document, there are no copyright issues. Just let us know that, show us your interest. we will give you the text and we will give you the material so it can be translated. And the more people that we know will know about it, the better it is for everybody. If it is okay, I'm going to change topic a little bit.
May I just say one thing? The difference, I think, between the associations and this is a guide, whereas S3CC are now manuals. They're much more specific and much more detailed.
Yeah.
And one more point as well before we move on. It has to be said as well that the BG guide that we have in Germany too, which is it is the manual. But what I see here with the EWJI or even the creation of the DIRV in Germany is there's a dynamic behind it. There is a push forward. There's, as Jose has pointed out, it's not to stand still. You know, we want to adapt our manual as well and our guidelines and make it better. So any, information, any feedback, anything that we could put into it as well will be welcome and will be done over the time. Yeah. And I think that's very important as well.
In fact, I'm going to tell you already something that we are not 100% satisfied with. In fact, we believe it could be improved significantly. And what I mean is the photos. The document has the text itself, it makes a lot of sense. But some of the techniques, some of the methods, maybe we should have other photos in there. As Per mentioned before, because the document is digital and we can update it anytime, we would like to show there, the state of the art. So please, and this is a call to the audience, if you can send us better photos for where you see, the full equipment in use, where people see the precautionary measures, and of course we see the beauty of the work that is done with water jetting. We already asked you for that. Please send us photos. We had a debate, and I'm gonna come back to the speakers about if we should or should not include photos of people injured with water jetting. I remember one of the presentations we had from Stuart in Brussels, and it was a bit gross to tell you the truth, because those pictures are really scary. But sometimes, I guess, you have a lot of experience training people on site. Sometimes you need to show to the people that kind of photos so they are aware. What is your experience about that? When they see the photos, how do they react?
You need to shock them into realizing this stuff is very powerful. People don't realize that high pressure water. I've been in the motor world for years. When you buy your wash box for your clean your house or something, it's about the equivalent of a 2 horsepower, French 2 horsepower. When we give you one of these machines to work on an asset owner, it's the equivalent of the 1,000 horsepower Audi that won the 24 hours. You have to shock people into understanding. They see a jet of water, it means nothing.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Alan and Per, on the topic of photos? Because there was a lot of debate if we should include more photos, more of that kind of people injured, so people realize how scary it is. We just included one, which actually is from France. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the photos, and I don't like them. But I agree with Stuart, and sometimes it's important to see what can happen, because I've even been once trying to test some materials, and the guy tried to put his finger under the water jet, and it was a 2,000 bar single. And luckily we could stop him, but he couldn't understand that it was so hard. Yeah. So it doesn't look so. Yeah. It doesn't look as it could hurt as much as it really does.
Yeah.
And I will add that those photos are actually quite gentle compared with some others which are available.
Yeah. So once again, as Alan mentioned before, this is a live document, a live process. If you have suggestions, comments, references, please, we are not here to present you a product that is finished, but a product that is alive and is ready to be updated. I'm going to ask the speakers to change a little bit the focus and talk a little bit about roles and responsibilities, because, people get hurt in any kind of job. There are accidents with cars, accidents with water jetting, you name it, So, the question here is who's responsible for what? At what point I stop to have responsibilities when I train somebody about water jetting, and at what point I got to go beyond my responsibilities and just think about the people. Stuart. So
everybody in the chain of command is responsible, from the humble jetter to the asset owner. They have to be able to supply the necessary, from the contractor, the necessary equipment, from the asset owner, the necessary information, so the contractor can react correctly and know where the danger lays, what he's got to avoid, what he's got to explain to his staff. Everybody is totally involved in this. If it's done properly, we can avoid a lot of problems.
Okay. Thank you, Stuart. Any comments?
I agree completely with Stuart. I mean, if anyone shirks his responsibility, I mean, I contract contracting workers in to do jobs for us. But I mean, when you work at the job as long as I have as well, I mean, I know all the guys by name. I know some of their wives, their kids. You know, the last thing I want to see is anybody having an accident or going home in an ambulance or something. It's terrible, and I seriously dislike when a factory shirks their responsibilities. I mean, because we have the responsibility as well to inform the contracting company of the danger, the hazards from our side, so that they can, you know, carry out their job safely or their operation safely. Yeah, as Stuart said, everyone is involved, and really the same as any other job. I mean, it shouldn't be shirked and it shouldn't be looked down on. I mean, this is a very dangerous job, and it needs to be respected as such.
Yeah. We have on the chat, we are starting to receive comments on the chat. In fact, we have somebody, I guess, from the UK saying that pictures are a necessity. The new workers, I'm just reading what it says. The new workers have been trained in a much safer environment, and sometimes they do not realize the power and impact of water jetting, which was actually what Per was saying before. So something to be aware of. Per, since I mentioned you, question more oriented to you. What kind of protective equipment should people have when it comes to PPE? And also another question that sometimes is overlooked is what kind of collective protection system should be on place? You know, even if they are operating a machine from the back, it's not a hand lens. What kind of equipment should be out there?
Yeah, there are some different equipments on the market, but I think they shall be as well dressed as possible. And of course, I should say that everyone should use a TST suit, but I know that people are also using others. So, but protected front, boots, if possible, some good gloves, and a helmet and a visor. That's the minimum. And for collecting, I think it will be more and more important to collect the water, the wastewater. A lot of companies have their own systems for that, but sometimes they don't collect it and just let it go out in free. But I think there will be a lot of demand for getting good collection funnels, collection basins, and to recirculate the water.
Okay. Thank you, Per. We are receiving a lot of comments on the chat. I understand maybe somebody from the Netherlands, somebody maybe from Germany, or trying to figure out just by the names. Just to clarify, before I send the questions back to our speakers, the guide is for general purpose water jetting, because some of the questions are more oriented to industrial cleaning. So, you know, we have to cover all the way, as Hans said at the very beginning, all the way from, you know, municipal cleaning or urban cleaning or sewer draining cleaning, however you want to call it, to water jetting applications in construction, surface preparation, and of course, industrial cleaning. And here are some comments about industrial cleaning, maybe for you, Alan, to react on. Shouldn't the basics of health and safety be the automation in industrial cleaning and make sure that we remove people from the line of fire?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but we handled that. Unfortunately, that's the other web seminar for the automation, and we are pushing it. I mean, BASF here in Germany or in Ludwigshafen, I mean, we've made a huge leaps towards automating the cleaning process as much as possible, and the heat exchangers, for example. I mean, if it can be automated, we will automate it now. In the meantime, just, you know, that's why we didn't want to be too restrictive as well with the guideline too, because I mean, I always say there's going to be a job we're going to fall back to where you're going to have to do some handheld work, and then but what we try and do is then reduce the high pressure that we're using. Then, you know, instead of having to shoot a pistol or whatever with 1,000 bar, we'll reduce that pressure to about maybe 200. Maybe it'll do the job fine, you know. So we are trying to get away from handheld, and we are definitely trying to get our workers away from the line of fire. I mean, we are doing that, but I mean, this is a general guideline for the situation we have at the moment, and a lot of countries, a lot of companies within Germany are still working with handheld equipment. So we were trying to deal with that situation at the moment, and that's what the guideline is really all about, because the situation is still here. We haven't automated yet. But if you know, if companies are willing to make that push towards automated systems, you know, I say more strength, more luck to them. And it is. We've had really good experience over here with it so far, and I can only tell people, I mean, really give it a try. Because if we don't give our contracting companies, the chance to implement these systems, then it'll never really take hold. And that's what it's all about. As asset owners, we have to say, yeah, bring that equipment and show me what you can do. And then it will happen. But as I said, we still handheld, or we're still working a lot of handheld jobs. Stuart, I think you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think we should really insist that automation in water jetting is a very young industry. It's only just starting. Things are evolving quite quickly now, but sort of 5-7 years ago, there was nothing.
Yep.
I also think that the asset, this is where I shan't be popular, the asset owners have to understand that these automated systems represent quite a big investment for the contractors, and the asset owners should be prepared to, if they wish to go forward with automation and make safety their law, they should be prepared to pay that little extra to help the contractors cover the investments, which are quite big.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, both Alan and Stuart. Alan mentioned before, just in case somebody doesn't know, we have a working group for asset integrity, and within that working group, they're actively working on something that is called automation, you know, a working group for that, and there will be a webinar about that. So just follow us on any of your social networks or the EWJI website, and we'll keep you posted about this. You know, maybe we can switch once again the topic. You know, let's talk a little bit about the methods. You know, when you organize the operations, what should people think about? Is there anything that needs to be done before starting operations? Stuart mentioned before the chain of command. Should there be a chain of command? How do you stop a work that is already being performed, and because there was something or there's an alert? How do you do that? Who wants to get started? It's just get the lens and start to work, or get the machine, even if you're remote controlling, and start to work, or should there be a process in place?
Do you want me to take this, Stuart?
Yeah, go for a minute, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's not just taking a line and starting to clean some equipment. Of course, the factories call us up. We are a selected department who deal especially with water high pressure cleaning or general industrial cleaning within our own company. We hear what the factory is planning, what they need to be done, and then we start thinking about which company would we plan for that work to carry it out successfully. And then, of course, as Per said as well, we do we think through a process of environmental, economic, and so on. So we choose our company out, and then we inform our factory which company is going to come and deal with their problem on the day. Then we inform our company. We have to contract them in. And the company is informed about all the hazards that we know about within the factory, on the washing bays or wherever they're going to be working. But of course, at the last step for us, on the day the operations are going to be carried out, that company arrive at the factory. They get that the work permit, and the work permit is more or less a danger or a hazard assessment as well. They walk through with people from the factory who explain to them as well the emergency problems. I mean, if the alarm goes off, I mean, where they have to gather, the assembly points, what happens if somebody has an accident. Whereas we re-inform then the factory as well, if somebody has an accident with water high pressure, you know, to inform them that it's probably with river water, for example. And then we have our contracting workers have their cards with them, which they show the doctor then, you know, on delivery to a hospital or when the ambulance service arrives. So, I mean, it is quite a complex. There's a long chain of commands, if you like, or questions that need to be asked and re-asked and answered. But there is a process that has to go through everybody's mind when any cleaning operation gets started in a factory.
Yeah. Stuart, any comments from your side?
Yes, a lot. No, Alan is one of the BASF, one of the perhaps the few companies that realise that they have to give all the necessary information before anything else happens. There is a lack of information flowing down to the people doing the work. When we started our operation SCC about 15 years ago, we were totally surprised to start with that nobody was using the same language. They didn't even understand each other. The asset owner and the bloke on the sharp end, they didn't speak the same language. So, and we looked at what was existing, and all the safety systems we found were sort of from the management down. So we said, well, what we ought to do is start from the bloke on the sharp end and work back up, which we did. And it's now, for the last 10 years, got right back up the asset owners. We call the coordinator, the contract manager for the asset owner, has to be certified as with the same set of rules as the man on the sharp end. And the man on the sharp end sees it all, but he can now explain, and the coordinator can understand what's happening and what needs to be done. Also, the coordinator now knows what he can ask the contractor to do safely, whereas before he just do that, and he often didn't know that he was putting the contractor's men in danger. So communication is important. The standard language so everybody understands each other, and I'm not talking about language between countries. We found that the people in the north of France didn't know what the people in the south of France were talking about, and it was a big problem to start with. But now it really is. Everybody has to communicate and understand what is needed, and the thing goes right from the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom. It's a team effort from every point of view.
I'm reading the comments from the chat. I'm gonna get a little bit out of our script to ask you something, Per. What some of the people are saying is like, okay, we're talking about the best case scenario, industrial facility, large company, you know, you're gonna take a lot of measures, but how about urban cleaning, you know, drain and sewage? What happens there? Have you seen accidents, or just with, you know, lower pressure, accidents do not happen? What's your take on that? Stuart, you're nodding. What do you mean?
It's one of the biggest, probably one of the biggest causes of accidents in France. You're probably using lower pressures, but you're talking much, much bigger flows. So you're talking a lot of kilowatts. And you're also talking to people who are not necessarily fully equipped because they're working from one manhole to the next in the middle of traffic. And it also, one of the big problems is when they start working in sewers, they start releasing gas in certain cases, and some of these gases are lethal. I mean, we had a case 5-6 years ago. We lost 4 people in an hour.
Wow!
All 4 dead from releasing gas in sewer work. So it is an important thing. It's a different subject, but it's a big subject.
Okay. The guide includes a chapter about hazardous substances, you know, things that it's not the water itself, but it's the water in contact with something else. Can any of you elaborate a little bit on this chapter of the guide? You know, why hazardous substances, or what Stuart mentioned, or explosive environments, or things like that? You know, why is this relevant on water jetting?
Well, with the water jetting, at the end of the day, I mean, we get called in to clean objects. So you've got some kind of waste residue within a tank, for example. I mean, that residue gets mobilized again. And as soon as you start mobilizing it, there could be, as Stuart was saying, there could be gases trapped underneath it, alone through the mobilization. I mean, we're breaking apart the waste residue itself, which can start releasing the gases too. The hazardous, we bind a lot of our work as well with suction vehicles as well. That's one of the topics we're dealing with as well in Germany at the moment, is the suctioning part of it. because there's a massive difference between the water high pressure work within a tank, which possibly has an outlet or, it's been aired properly, and, we start sucking in this waste and the residue within to a suction vehicle, and that suction vehicle can start gathering, as Stuart has said, a lethal gas within itself, or maybe an explosive gas. And I mean, what do we say? I think in German it's not a Schokolade, and we don't have a chocolate factory over here. We're not Willy Wonka. We have dangerous substances over here, and people need to be they need to respect the hazard as well. And yeah.
You see, if we talk about high pressure water, the rebound of the water contains whatever you're taking off, whatever you're cleaning. And if you're talking about municipal vacuum tankers, they can actually create their own explosive zone, because they're sucking in, mixing, and pumping it out through the vacuum pump, and they can create their own explosive zone just on their own.
Yep.
Yeah. You're right. Per, I can ask you, somebody mentioned before, I think it was a Stuart, that, people on sewer and drain cleaners, they jump from one job to another in the same day. They will do so many jobs. They're actually using high pressure equipment, but either the equipment is not designed to take it on and off quickly, or it's not comfortable enough for that kind of job, or is it that they don't take the necessary precautions? How can we improve on that? Because what Stuart said, it's not only in France. In many countries, there are more accidents with lower pressure than with higher pressure.
Yeah, I think we have mentioned it before here, that the power of the water is not as high, and I don't see it as a real danger. And they handle a lot of, in a sewer, it can be whatever, and the hose gets slippery, and so it happens a lot. But I think also sometimes one of the most important things for them is to have, if they are standing on a road, they have to have this type of visible clothing. Otherwise, they are not allowed to work there. And then they take those clothes first and don't care about having any protective clothing. So we have some line with protection in it and also visible, but it's expensive, and it's easier, and especially in the summer, they want to go in shorts and t-shirt. Shorts and t-shirt and a big tattoo. That's
the problem is, Per, and I mean I've know because I've suffered myself. Good protective water blasting clothing is your own personal sauna. And you in Sweden's okay, but you start operating that in the middle of Spain, it's you begin to wonder which is the worst part of it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You're right. We are receiving more comments in the line of what you are saying. Some colleagues from the chat saying that on an asset owner facility, if you really want, in many operations, you can turn them automatic. I'm just not going to read the whole thing. And that sometimes it's the balance between doing it quick or just pushing it to try for new methods. And also what you mentioned before about cleaning sewers, I think it was mentioned by Stuart, less attention is paid to grounding, and sometimes this is very important. So, when we made this guide, we started to do a document that people can understand and share with each other. But sometimes during the process, we spoke about, okay, can we do something else? What else could we do to approach the document to people that maybe they're not going to read it, or maybe we should do a video or a comic? What kind of things could help everyone on the chain of command, as Stuart mentioned before, to be more aware about this? What will you do? I mean,
unfortunately, it nearly always takes an accident for somebody to start looking at it.
Yeah,
these things happen afterwards rather than before.
You're right.
Legislation is often the same. It has to be something happen first before anybody thinks about it. We're talking about human nature, human beings, and we can't really control that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, I think
what we have to do is everything to make sure that there are no mistakes within it, or any pictures which are not totally within our text. I mean, we have to be very careful what pictures we publish to find that there's nothing actually wrong with them compared with the text which is somewhere in the regulation.
Okay. Thank you, Stuart. Alan, you wanted to say something?
no. All right, we can move on.
Okay. So we mentioned before that the document is a general guideline, and in some cases, not in many, but in some cases there will be specific guidelines at national level. So my question to the three of you is, how can we now bring the document to either the national organizations, or in countries where there's no an organization, just make it available to them and make sure that we get whatever rules or regulations are out there for the industry. Like for instance, yeah.
Sorry, how many countries are we talking about? I mean, the only ones I know that have actually got that far is Benelux and France. Germany are starting. Who else has something? To be honest with you,
not much more. You know, the thing is on this topic on high pressure, the rules and regulations for high pressure are, you remember, Stuart, are related with water pumps. You know, general water pumps for anything. And actually, the standards that we use on water jetting, the two standards that we have for pumps and for hoses, also come from that committee, which EWJI is also a member of that technical committee within CEN. And there's not a lot, and most of them are related with equipment manufacturing, not to the use. So my question here to you is, how can we improve that? You know, how can we take all the best experiences, the state of the art, and make sure that we translate it or we made it available to other countries to reach that point? Not everybody at the same time, please. I know it's a tricky one.
You know, the great thing I see here is that the EWJI is offering something that people, that other countries, other companies in other countries can take. You know, they can use it if they want to implement it. The offer is there, which I think is a first step. It has to be there somewhere. Because I mean, the process that we're running through here in Germany now to put something together as an association, because we have our national insurance crowd, and their manual is not bad, you know, but it was static. It wasn't going anywhere, and it hasn't changed in I think last 15, 20 years. But you mightn't get around to it again, and we've seen ourselves the work we're putting into it now to try and get a more up to date manual together or guideline together. I mean, it's a lot of work. So I mean, it's a lot of work. So I mean, if the EWJI, it's been offered more or less for free, and it's not a bad guideline. As we said, it's there, it's dynamic, it'll move and it'll change. There's a group and a team behind it now who want to see it move and adapt. And I just think it's a great offer for other countries. I mean, the offer is there, but it's up to the people, companies in the other countries to actually use that offer and implement it in their daily routine. But I mean, how? Yeah, Stuart.
And perfect it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we've been through all this, and with the SEER and with S3C. I mean, it took us 3.5 years of continuous committees to actually come up with manuals which are accurate and constructive and useful to water jetting and vacuum pumping. When we looked into it, in fact, there were no real rules or laws. We were making them as we went along. And we've got to a stage now where government agencies and what have you say, well, why try and reinvent the wheel? You've already got it written in black and white. We'll just use it.
Yep.
We had a big success last year. In fact, there is a very complicated system of National Health Service, which pays for all the accidents and what have you, who represent every unions on there, the manufacturers are on there, the manufacturers, the asset owners, everybody, and it covers water jetting, gas and everything else. And they actually took 70% of our guide, wrote it down and issued it as official regulations and was signed by all the unions.
Yep.
Which I thought was a good compliment. And I think the same thing happened for SEER, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But it's Jose, just shortly, one more point. I mean, what I could see is we have our original equipment manufacturers, and we have our contracting workers who generally they travel the whole of Europe. I mean, when we're honest about it, they do move around from country to country. So if we're looking for somebody to promote the health and safety, the implementation of automation and all these topics, I mean, we as asset owners, I mean, I don't know how many other companies I really do get to speak with. There are a few, of course, but I mean, it's not that many. I would believe that the contracting workers, it'd be great to see them approach an asset owner and say, hey, do you know what we have? And I could tell you something about the EWJI, and they've got a guideline which you can use for free, and you can use it to help start to educate your own people to see, you know, what should we be looking out for, you know, what possible dangerous hazards are on the working place and so on. And I'd say the contracting, the contractors as well as the equipment manufacturers are a great basis to, you know, to start, I don't know, putting out posters for us, or, you know, doing a couple of ads for us, or I'd say that's the way it should go. I mean, they're the people I see who move around Europe a lot more freely than we do as an asset owner.
In fact,
we can only supply a general guide because each country is different and each site is different.
Yep.
The general guide from which they can build their specifics around it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that in Scandinavia there is no working organization for this, so just inform the companies and the asset owners and so up here that there is a guide, a European guide, could be a big help.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, many of you mentioned the manufacturers. We have within EWJI a working group called Equipment and Technology with 2 subgroups, one for pumps, another one for hoses and equipment. We ask them to, on any of the documents that they are producing, to provide us instructions and reference documentation for health and safety. But oftentimes they say what Stuart mentioned before. You know, one thing is what you can say as a manufacturer. Another thing is the assessment that you need to do on the site as user of the equipment. So my question here back to you is, you know, how can we help the people to have the right knowledge and the right tools to do an assessment of the situation they have in their hands? Not only the tools, but, you know, what's going to happen when they use the tools. What's your feedback on that? What are your thoughts? Your experience also.
Nearly every manufacturer supplies training on their particular project material. This is commercially, you know, it just has to be done. The European guide is general. We can only point people in the right direction, and then perhaps have a system where their specific questions can be led back to people, competent people to answer to the specific inquiries. I don't think we can do a specific guide for the whole of Europe. It has to be general, I think. But, you know.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. But we looked into that in our discussions putting this guide together, was the fact that we said we can't, as I said, put the brakes on anybody. We want to open a guide so that everyone can actually use the guide, you know, welcome it, and hopefully, as I said before, implement some of the ideas that are in it, you know, implement ideas that they find sensible, ideas that'll work in their factory or in their, you know, their own situation. I mean, yeah, we tried to be very careful because we don't want to stop anyone from, carrying out work that's worked. If it's functions for the last 20 years, there's no reason why it's not going to function anymore, you know. But sometimes things can be adapted, you know. People say, you know, don't go and reinvent the wheel, but I always reckon, you know, you can always put a nice bit of alloys on it, you know. You can flash up your car, you can make it look a bit nicer, and that's just adaptation. That's making things work a bit better.
It's called customizing.
Oh, thank you. Tuning.
No, tuning's the engine. No, sorry about that.
So this is pimp my industry, Ryan, going, or industry cleaning or something, industrial cleaning.
Right. No, it's sort of called whether you're talking English or American, actually. The problem is we had a big problem, simple things, tube cleaning, whereas the actual dead man system was not being held by the person, not being used by the person doing tube cleaning. It was somebody behind him or a pump. And, you know, we had a big job to go through to explain to everybody, the person using the material must be the one that activates it. And it must be a dead man system. This, you know, there's still a lot of countries where this doesn't happen. And this is a big step forward, because when those things comes out those tubes, it hurts.
You're right, Stuart. We're getting close to the end of the webinar, and I have a couple of questions I still want to ask you. There's one from the audience. I'm going to share the question as it is on the chat, and then maybe if any of you has an answer, but I think there's no good answer for this one. Is there a shared database of water jetting accidents across the industry, like there are in other industries? If yes, where can it be accessed? Or if there is not, why not?
Well, I'm not sure where the question has come from. That was one of the topics as well raised by the association we're putting together in Germany at the moment, where we said the openness, we want the openness to be there. You know, we'd like to discuss problems. How did the accident happen? You know, is it a system that we're running as well in a way that we could change it? But I mean, if we don't get the information, you know, we can't learn from other people's mistakes, you know, until we make the mistake ourselves. And that's something we really don't want to have to do. I'd rather learn from somebody else's unfortunate mistake than actually have to live through it myself. But that's one of the topics that we're trying to deal with, and there should be a platform up and going at some stage for at least for members of our association.
Yeah. Will you be open to a European database for that? Because the American Association, which at the end, it's a lot of different member states.
Yeah. It'll be talked with the GICC as well afterwards to see if Kerry wants to put it into the European too. I mean, like I said, we really don't want to be hiding information. We want information to flow freely so that we can find it, and you know, anything that can be used to hinder an accident in future, you know, brilliant. That's the way it should be going.
Alan, the problem is you and I know both. There are an awful lot of accidents on the parking outside.
Yeah.
Move people out before they declare it. There's an awful lot of them. And we tried to investigate it in France. We couldn't even get any accurate figures in France. And we asked the National Health Insurance to give us accident figures, and we did a graph, and the only thing got out of that was, and we're talking about industrial cleaning, the only thing got out of that was if you only employed people under 25 and over 55, you wouldn't get many accidents.
Well, fair enough. But I just know, I mean, any of us who hear, you know, it doesn't make a difference if an accident happens in Spain or England or Germany or Sweden. You know, I mean, it's the branch we all work in. So, you know, it does hit me as well personally, where I think, you know, my God, you know, how could have that been stopped? You know, I mean, how could we have changed something? You know, and that's why I think I've met a few people in Germany too, and even though, as I said, we have guidelines in Germany, they didn't know anything about the guidelines. It's all about putting the name out there and saying that there is a place where you can find help. There's a place where you can go to. There's people you can contact. You know, I've offered my help where I said to somebody, hey, I've got nothing by it to help you except for I'll feel better that you're working safer. Yeah. Very welcome to give me a call to, you know, to ask me a question. You know, that was some lady we met there one time. But that's the truth about it. You know, an accident in our branch, I find it hurts us all. I mean, we all look at it and go, my God, you know, and how easy could that happen on my building site or, you know, in my area of responsibility.
Yeah.
So, and people are ashamed. People are ashamed to report them in, so we don't get all the information.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's.
They try and hide them. They often try and hide them. Yeah.
I have one last question, which is at the same time an invitation to open remarks to the three of you before we close. And it's, you know, how was the process of creating the document? And what do you think, what is the value of working through associations, no matter if it's the German, the French, the European, whatever it is. So it's a double question. So each one of you, and any final remarks that you might have. What was the process? And how is the value of working through associations? So maybe Alan, Stuart, and to close, Per, is that okay?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I mean, bonuses from, like I said, joining an association. I mean, there's help there. There's, you know, you've got backup. You can, as I said just now, you can call people to say, hey, look, I've got a problem here. we made up before, and we were having discussions about, oh my God, I need some water, high pressure people, you know, I mean, do you know anybody? And, you know, we've given companies and contractors names on. It's all about, for me, it's a support role. And then the German Association as a member of the EWJI as well. So whoever's in the German Association is automatically then a member of the EWJI, or can join separately if they so wish. But as I said, it's all about, it's got to be about support and about getting information out there to help one another. Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes, it's about the flow of information, because a lot of people don't know where to look. And it can be an entry point to learn a lot more and a lot deeper in the subject, delve a lot deeper in the subject, and to have contacts. I mean, one of the things which we are we find important in the S3C is, if any, for instance, training, somebody says, where do I get trained? We say, well, here are a list of our training members. We have a broad church, and so if there's contractors, here's a list of the contractors. If there's asset, here's a list of asset owners. We're lucky, we have a very broad church. We have people in from every branch of the business, and so we can pass the information on. But then people need to know which door to knock on to find out.
Yep.
Thank you. And Per, final remarks to close this webinar, since you are the coordinator of this working group and also the guide.
Yeah, I must say thank you to all the people that have been helping this and getting this to be this type of publication, and especially to Alan and Stuart, their knowledge and all the things that they have helped to put into the guide has been very, very important. And I think we have, in a rather short time, produced a good guide, which we shall keep on working with. And thanks to all the EWJI people that has been in help to this.
Well, thank you also from our side. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to all of our participants today. Once again, the reminder, the guide is already available, as Per mentioned before. Anything that you see that can be improved, please let us know. This is the beauty of the document, can be improved. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Per. We keep in touch.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.